Welcome in, everyone, to A Shot of Jack Sports. I am Jack Neary. We've got Mr. Liam Sagarian with us today. We are talking Damien Lillard, quite possibly. There's rumors might be going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Before we get started here today, I'd like to reference theeverydayfan.com for the latest and greatest sports content on the web. Liam is the UFC department head there, and he was right last week. He called Poirier over McGregor. Always follow him for information on Twitter. Take it away, Liam. What's your take here?
Oh, man, when that news dropped yesterday that Damien Lillard might be requesting a trade in the coming days, everything that I've been saying for the past half a year feels like it took a little new breath yesterday. And that's because I don't think it'll be in the next couple of days. I think it'll actually be in about the next month, around the time, like after the draft, at the start of free agency, and, getting into free agency when the Olympics end. Because Damian Lillard, while he likes to be, a man of the people and a man of the fans, I think he realizes the moment he's in, playing in his first Olympic Games, starting point guard, and the mess that they're in already. He doesn't need to add a new story to that by putting it on him.
He was passed up a couple Olympics ago too, wasn't
he? He was passed up on, at least for the last one.
Right.
Right. He was on the select team, I guess, probably in 2012 after his rookie year. And then, or no, I guess that would have been the summer he was drafted. So who knows? He was definitely passed up on in 2016, though.
He really wanted to go. Like he
Yes.
actually commented on it a little bit, and I believe it was like not necessarily a direct shot, but he took a little poke at Kyrie Irving, I believe. And he wanted to be a part of it, and it just wasn't to be that year. So yes, you're right. This is his time, to kind of lead a struggling team. Let's call it what it is. It's tough right now.
Struggling. And he doesn't want to put the onus on him and the story on him that, he wants out of Portland. Oh, what's going on while he's on the team. Hey, when Devin Booker gets there after the finals, he can be, hey, yo, Chris is old. Let's go get you. Is he going to talk to Jason Tatum? There's rumors that the Celtics might want to go after Damian Lillard. Matisse Thybulle, I said it on our podcast after the Australia exhibition game, was talking to him over on the bench, my Sixers. So now that the story's out, and he says in that in his post practice availability that the reports are untrue and he hasn't made any decisions on his future, that's telling. Because if he had made a decision on his future and it was to be in Portland, he would say that, right? Because he said for the first 9 years of his career, I'm loyal to Portland. I'm loyal to the soil. I'm Dame Dollar, loyal to the soil. It's on the mixtape. It's on the soundtrack. He wants to, he's always talked about being a Blazer for life, wanting to be the best Blazer ever. And now he's getting a little frustrated with the constant first-round exits, and you put up 55 points in one of the most epic shooting performances you've ever seen against the Denver Nuggets team without their second-best player, and you can't even take it 7 games, let alone you're losing in 6 games to that team. Yes, they have the MVP, but they don't have Jamal Murray. That stuff hurts as you get into your age. He turned 31 years old 2 days ago. So, he's getting up there. He's seeing where the stars are aligning. If he wanted to be in Portland, he would have said it right there. I haven't made any decisions on my future yet. That tells me he's made a decision on his future. He's holding it till after the Olympics. It's focused on the Olympics right now, and I'll become a 76er in a month or so. Or a Knick, or a Celtic, or a Warrior, or a Pelican, or a Jazz man. There are so many options for Damian Lillard to put a lot of teams over. And there are a lot of interesting packages out there too. But I think Ben Simmons' headlining package is probably the best one.
I think you're right. He's always been honest. He's always been candid, upfront, right? He either says he is or he's not. He's always said he loves Portland. I'm staying in Portland until the job's done. There has been, like you said, a little bit of mystery now added conversation. He's never been seriously. Dame's never been mysterious, right? He always goes out there and lets you know I'm gonna be here. But him saying, adding that little bit of fluff. Yeah, I'm gonna get together with my crew. When you're offered a job to do something, right, and a part negotiation chip, when you feel like you haven't been offered the correct the money or the correct amenities, right, you always tell the employer, you go, let me talk it over with my wife first. And that feels like what Damian Lillard's doing now, right? Just no, I know we love Portland, we got a huge home here, we have plenty of friends, but just let me go home and have the conversation with my wife, and let's see what we think together. All of a sudden, we're thinking with we. I'm just not making the decisions. I think he's gone. I think it's plain and simple. A town like Philly fits him, though. A town like New York fits him. I don't know necessarily if a town like New Orleans fits him. I'm not knocking the town. It just feels like he's gritty. He feels like the city of Philadelphia. He feels like the city of New York. To me, that's the type of player that Damian Lillard is. He feels like the city of Chicago. He needs a big market because that's just, he might have come out of a small market, but that's not him. And I feel like he wants to play that gritty East Coast basketball, don't you?
I agree. And while I think that he would thrive in a bigger market, I also think he would thrive in a tough get it out the mud city, like in New York, like a Philadelphia, like what was the third team that you said? I'm sorry.
New Orleans.
Right. So a little bit more pomp in New Orleans, right? He's an LA boy, but do you see him as a Laker? Maybe you see him as a Clipper, the more hardworking industrial franchise, right? But
yeah, I do.
He seems to be one of those guys that deserves the chance to play for a hardworking, get it out the mud, blue collar franchise. He feels like Philadelphia. He really feels like New York. When I heard that the Knicks would want to go after him, right? They've been searching for a star player for a billion years now.
It's been close to a billion.
With him in that blue and orange and him leading that city and the way that he really is able to captivate a fan base because of how sure-minded and stoic he is through the battle waters, and he feels like a Knick. He really does. He feels like a Knick more than a Sixer. But what would you rather have? Would you rather have a Ben Simmons led package with Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey, or would you rather have an RJ Barrett led package with Kevin Knox and Alonzo Trier? I think I would take the Ben Simmons package.
Well, I think it would be. To be quite honest, I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be that package at all. I think it would be Kevin Knox and 2 first-rounders, and the Knicks have them. The Knicks have a boatload of draft capital just stored up. I don't think that they want to get rid of RJ Barrett. I think RJ Barrett's making strides and he's getting better. Damian Lillard could be to Philadelphia, in my opinion, what Allen Iverson was. That's how much he feels like that city. And Ben Simmons actually deserves Portland. And that's not a knock on Portland, but he deserves to have to go somewhere and learn how to work hard or not make it, because he's been given every opportunity in his life and hasn't done anything extra to deserve it. I mean, to be quite honest, I talk about this all the time. He went to LSU and didn't go to class. He was drafted number 1 and didn't play his first year. Then he won Rookie of the Year in his second season. And my argument against him winning Rookie of the Year was you did have professional coaching, correct, in the league. You didn't have, it wasn't a new schedule, right? You learned professional scheduling. You had to learn the planes and all the other stuff. Rookies have to learn that in their first year. You got a Rookie of the Year in your second year after you learned all that stuff, yet still didn't learn how to shoot a free throw. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. Free throw and stuff like that, that's just effort. It's just going to the gym and doing it every day. And I'd love to see Damian Lillard in Philadelphia. It would feel better for the fans of Philly. They wouldn't be constantly sticking up for someone that they want to be a winner. They have one.
Right. So Ben Simmons, like you said, you said Damian Lillard deserves to be in a place where he can thrive a little bit like Philly, and Ben Simmons deserves.
I believe that Philly. Huh? You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. I think that the Philadelphia.
No, go ahead. Go on.
Philadelphia fans deserve. All right, the Philadelphia fans deserve to just go watch a great player, right? I feel like Philadelphia is constantly trying to defend guys that are almost great or guys that are pretty good. Huh?
Well, yeah, well, two great players because Joel Embiid's pretty great.
Two what?
But I said two great players because Joel Embiid's pretty great. Are you with me? You got me?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about basketball. I'm talking about them having to constantly defend Donovan McNabb and he gave you great years. Why should you have to defend a quarterback that gives you great years? You know what? You were defending Andy, huh?
Yeah.
You were defending Andy Reid. You were defending all these guys. Ricky Waters sometimes, who was a great running back. It should be in the Hall of Fame. You're defending all these guys for what? They're great guys. And I feel like if Damian Lillard would go to Philly, he's already a made man. There is nothing to defend. He's great. Top 3, top 4 shooter in the league. You got him now.
Right. No, I agree. And then Ben Simmons. But you said Ben Simmons deserves Portland. Ben Simmons deserves a first-year coach like Chauncey Billups for them to be able to work together over the long course of both of their remaining contracts to see what they can build as far as the future. Because if you have Ben Simmons and you truly commit to putting shooters around him and making him your system, because clearly you're not fitting him into a system. You have to make him your system. And if you're serious about that, I think it can be done with the right draft picks. Maybe that's the place for Portland to be with a coach who is a point guard, right, Chauncey Billups, and an upstart to maybe figure it out. Damian Lillard, if he gets traded to the Sixers, before he steps on the court, is a top 6 Sixer talent and career-wise of all time. I venture to rank him, but he's a top 6 Sixer ever, along with AI, like you said, Joel, Dr. J, Moses, and
Daryl Dawkins.
Yes, thank you.
No, that's right. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. There were, it's tough. You'd have to probably add maybe another one of those.
Charles Barkley.
One of those Sixers players that played in that undefeated playoff run. Yeah, I mean that's just that was everybody forgets about that Sixer team. Oh, when were the Sixers good? When they went undefeated in the playoffs, they just smoked everybody in the playoffs. Like it's pretty good, But Sixers fans, he'll be the one guy that they won't have to sit and defend. They can actually just buy the tickets and be like, "Hey man, why are you buying Sixer season pass tickets?" You're like, "We've got Damian Lillard now," and everybody goes, "Oh shit." Like that's real excitement. Like that's real. Like that's real buzz in the city. That's I don't know. I like sports when Philly's good. I like sports when New York is good. I like most teams to be good, and I know it's cyclical. It kills me that Indiana basketball isn't very good right now. Like just the heart of and soul of what the sport's always been, kind of.
Now, Jack, can you tell me what you think a Lillard and Embiid combo would look like? Because that's one of the deadliest offensive combos in the league right there. Just imagine that pick and roll and pick and pop for that matter. It's just that is a beautiful, beautiful combo.
I think it does two things. Yeah, it's really tough because what it is Embiid's an offensive lineman, right? And Lillard can get around those picks. I mean, quite nicely. I think that would be a great combination. He's a tinier guy. You never see him coming, right? And you don't know whether he can really just get the ball to Embiid or take the shot, but he's going to be hidden because he's such a smaller guy. It's not like Doncic around the pick where where he's going to move. You watch his hips and you could kind of guess. I think it would be deadly. How how great would that team be? I don't know. I think that, I mean, they would have gotten past Atlanta. Sure, gotten past Atlanta. And then who knows? Because we know that Milwaukee's very good at home. But on the road, they're not so great.
Drew Holiday is Damian Lillard's playoff kryptonite, the one year they got swept by New Orleans. But, I think that duo gets you past Milwaukee, too. I think that duo gets you to the finals, because the Nets are going to keep having issues. I just feel like they're a team that's bound to be something wrong with one of their guys come playoff time. And I think a duo of Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid get you to the finals. And I think you sell house for it. You didn't sell house for James Harden. James Harden's a little more aloof, a little more into himself than I think Damian Lillard is. And Damian Lillard with that loyalty, kind of mindset, you can have a loyalty mindset for two different cities, right? You don't have to stay in Portland your whole career to be loyal then to Philadelphia or your next location. So I think you sell the farm for Damian Lillard, just like Brooklyn ended up selling everything they had besides KD and Kyrie for Harden, and you worry about filling in the holes a little later because you see what the Nets did. They attracted a Blake Griffin. They attracted a LaMarcus Aldridge until he eventually had to retire. You're able to fill in these pieces when people really believe they have a chance to do something special. And you can also sign key veteran 3-and-D wing leader guys in free agency. Look at Jay Crowder the past 2 years. What does he do? He goes to Miami. He's in the finals. And then Chris Paul and Devin Booker are like, dude, we would love to have you. And look, he's in the finals again with the Suns. People like Torrey Craig, who go from who grinds it out on the Nuggets, a very good team, signs with the Bucks, should have been used more, isn't used more, and then eventually is traded to Phoenix. He would have been in the finals either way this season, and no matter if he wins or loses the actual finals, he still gets a ring. I wouldn't take that ring. I wouldn't take that ring because I lost to that team in actuality, which is just I would take the ring in any other scenario other than losing to that actual team. But you know what, Torrey, you do you. Getting Damian Lillard allows the Sixers the flexibility to be able to go out as serious players for these kind of people, the PJ Tuckers, for these kind of people on the open market, and really build a strong founded team at the wing. Look, I don't care about the defensive drop-off of trading Thibault and Ben. Yeah, you're losing a lot of defense. But with Joel Embiid just in the middle, healthy, you're always going to be a top 12 defense regardless. And if you're putting Torrey Craig and Jay Crowder and PJ Tucker on the wings, your defense is going to be just fine. And then you got Damian Lillard to give you 50, Joel Embiid to give you 36, and you're looking good.
I never understood the whole you're losing a defensive player thing. If the guy doesn't want to play hard, then just dump him. Right? There's no difference athletically between Thibault and Kevin Knox. But upstairs, Knox doesn't want to play defense and work hard, so he doesn't see the court. Thibodeau doesn't put him on the court. Like, you're not going to be valuable. You're not going to help our team win, so I'm not going to up your value because you can shoot and score points. Like, I don't understand he's a defensive player. Like, JJ Redick plays defense. It's not the greatest, but he's scrappy. What was it, Matthew Dellavedova? Remember that guy? What's he, 6'1"? Wanted to play defense. If you don't want to play defense, I'll sit you right there. And then you can devalue.
Chris Paul's led the league in steals 6 times. Chris Paul's led the league in steals 6 times.
Because he wants to. Right, because he wants to. So the whole you're losing a great defender. It's like, excuse me, if you can jump the way most of these guys can and move side to side, it's all about want to for me. And I'll just find other guys that want to. Thibault, I think, can flourish into something more than just a defender if he gets some more time on the court. But as far as, you give up defense for a guy that can drop 35 a game. Now, the only thing that concerns me is that the way things look as far as the timeline on super teams is they do win it in the second year. That's just that most super teams need the first year to either, work through the singularity that they've always been, and or injuries, but it always takes a year. And so I would be concerned that the Nets come back a little embarrassed a little angry, take it all seriously, and all year. I think that could happen.
Let me throw this counter back at you.
You know?
Yes, I think they come back embarrassed and take it seriously, but you said that most super teams win it in their second year. You could argue next year is their first year. They didn't really have a year together this year. They played what? 7 regular season games and 5 postseason games, right? Just the Boston series, and that was it, because they weren't together at all in the Bucks series. So, like, I don't.
It's Durant.
Well, yes, it's Durant, it's Kyrie, it's Harden. AD and LeBron won it in their first year. No, I'm with you, but like, they're still going to have to figure out a lot of things. They're not going to be hitting the ground running like the 2012 Heat. You know, they're not going to be hitting the ground running like the 2016 Cavs, like the 20. Well, I mean, I guess you could. I mean, the 2016 Warriors too, but the 2015 Warriors still won 67 games. But like, you're not going to. They're going to still have to figure out a lot of things, and they're going to have to figure out a lot of things with a head coach who's a bottom 5 head coach. Sorry, Steve Nash, you're not that great. You're not a great head coach. You saw that in the playoffs. You saw, I mean, like, he was running his dudes into the ground. He had no solid rotations, no solid idea of how to construct a team to contend with what he was going against at the time. He has a lot to learn too, and that's evidenced by the fact that early in the season, Kyrie Irving is saying, "Oh, I don't think we really need a coach. Sometimes he can coach, sometimes I can coach, sometimes Kevin can coach." Well, what? No. So they're gonna have their problems. They're gonna have their issues. I wouldn't call it their second year together.
I actually was going to add to your ammunition. I was going to say, I mean, really, if you think about it, isn't it Durant and Irving's third year there? I mean, Durant didn't play the whole first year. Last year he played. It's going to be his third year there next year.
It's Kyrie's third year. Nobody else.
Right. Right, because he played, some of it. Interestingly enough, I watched an interview with Kevin Durant. It was on whatever network, it doesn't matter. But they asked him if the reason why he left Golden State was because of the little spat that him and Draymond Green had. And he said, well, it wasn't the only reason, but yeah, some of that was the reason why I left. Like, because of an argument or disagreement on the court that I had with Draymond Green. I was like, the only thing I could think is that's really soft. That's really, and they were like, well, did he apologize to you? And he's like, yeah, he kind of did. He goes, but he kind of didn't think he was wrong. And I don't know what the disagreement was or what he was yelling at Durant for, but that's why you left the team. You left the team because some player yelled at you. I don't know, man. I don't take it. Right? Maybe he was just trying to get under your skin or whatever. Take it from a guy. You can yell back at him. Don't you think that's incredibly weak?
I think it's incredibly weak and it's soft, but that's just everything that Kevin Durant's been evidenced to be. And Draymond Green isn't the easiest guy to get along with, right? He's a get in your craw kind of dude. He doesn't score a lot, but like, you always see people like Draymond Green. They're like, they're like gunners in football. Draymond Green's obviously better than a football gunner, but like, what's the gunner there for? They're there because they worked so hard that they worked so hard at limited talent that they're able to carve out a role for themselves, right? He's a total niche player, but he's made himself a niche superstar, not just a star, a niche superstar. It's a 3-time champion, and he's now on the Olympic team with KD. I mean, like, I'm sure that's going. Who knows? But Draymond Green had to carve out so much of a role for himself in the NBA because of being a 35th pick who can't score a lick, right? So if you can't score in this league, you got to be able to do something. And he's been able to be a masterclass defender and a masterclass facilitator. I still think of Andre Robertson sometimes. Like, I can't believe that dude ever played in the NBA for how little. I mean, like, I get he was such a great defender, but for the time that he was playing in, the fact that he couldn't do anything offensively, he's lucky he was playing on Oklahoma City, right? I don't think he could have played on any other team.
No. And I would argue, that Draymond Green is the best basketball player on the Golden State Warriors. Shooter. That doesn't mean all-star. Now, you don't have to be the best basketball player to even accomplish all those things. Like you said, with the skill set that he has, he shouldn't even be on the court. But not only is he on the court, he's on Olympic and all-star teams. And, his recognition of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson coming off of screens and knowing where the guys coming behind them, which one's going to succeed quicker, and picking which one to pass to in certain spots is unmatched. I mean, he's the facilitator for two super. Keeps both of them happy. They're both all-stars basically, because Draymond Green knows where all their spots are, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's the reason they're succeeding, but he's so good at getting people to their spots and anticipating plays before they happen. He's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers. He's the proverbial 2 steps ahead of everybody else, and that's what he's had to do. He's one of 2 people ever to have a triple-double in the March Madness tournament. It's because of how smart and efficient. Efficient's a weird word. You usually think of efficient for scoring, but like he really is an efficient basketball player as far as laboring on the court. He's very crafty at choosing his spots, and he's very tough-minded. Always has been. He's had to dig it out of the mud. He's one of those get it out the mud guys. So you see a little crack in the egg of Kevin Durant. You go try and you toughen it up. And that's not the way that you can approach Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant needs to be coddled and needs to be loved. He can't be yelled at. He can't take the harsh nature. Kevin Durant couldn't be on the New England Patriots. I'll tell you that much.
I saw the interview, and I watched him pause. Like, we watch interviews, you could tell you could read people, right? I watched him pause, and I think he was talking to Stephen A. on his show, and he's like, there wasn't the only reason, but yeah, that had a factor. And I went, dude, Bob Knight would have had you crying in the locker room. Like, I just don't understand. I mean, I guess you could be 7 foot and handle the ball, but and I've made this argument, before. I think that Kevin Durant's style, he's a great scorer. I don't know how else he affects the game. So I just don't. I think that, if you were to ask me, who would you rather, Kevin Durant or Carmelo Anthony? I think I would rather Carmelo Anthony, especially in Olympic basketball, because Carmelo Anthony is a physical basketball player. And whether you like, how well he scores and at certain clips or not, he sticks his tail in your side. And Carmelo Anthony's there for a couple quarters. I think that matters. I think it wears down defenders. It's very much run the ball in 3rd and 7 in the first quarter, because not necessarily to get the first down, but to wear the guys out for later. There's more than just meets the eye.
Right. Carmelo's style of play lends itself better to Olympic and international style of basketball. But that doesn't, you can never, ever get me to choose Carmelo over Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant affects the game another way. Like, first off, when he's engaged on defense, it's impossible for him to be a bad defender with how long he is and, how good of an athlete he is for his size. Is he the strongest guy? No. But, you don't need to be that strong when you're have the measurables that you do. So he can impact the game that way. And I think you saw it, a pretty decent amount when he was the solo guy throughout the year. And even in the last few games of the Bucs series, man, he was playing his tail off.
No, and that's true. But I also watched Jason Tatum drop 50 on him.
Well, I mean, sometimes the hot hand just is the hot hand. I think we've come to that. I think we've come to that point in basketball where sometimes the hot hand is the hot hand. At that point, I guess it was 2-0. Nets at that point. They weren't worried about the series at all. I think a lot of teams that could easily sweep teams end up letting it go 5 just to give themselves a little reprieve day. Maybe it's like so they don't get so much rust going in the next series because there's always a 7-game series in the first round that you got to worry about. Sometimes you're just sitting there for a week. But I really think that Kevin Durant, also with the gravity of defense that he draws and the way that he's still able to score over all of it, it opens up a lot of people. Is he the best passer? No. But when somebody's wide open, as long as you're not Mitch Trubisky, you can get the ball to where you're supposed to get the ball to.
How dare you? You leave Mitchell Trubisky alone.
Hey, I love him as a backup on the Bills. I really do.
Well, I mean, and there was something to that. He runs an offense kind of like Josh Allen does, only with less accuracy. And he's much better on the bench. I want to segue to the game tonight, right? Because we have a really important game, maybe the most important game of the whole NBA season.
Definitely, totally. Game 5, baby.
Game 5, NBA Finals. Phoenix just lost 2 in a row in Milwaukee. We're back in Phoenix tonight. I mean, lay it out for us.
The Suns have to win this game because they're not going to be winning Game 6. And I could say that in the same breath of like, well, Milwaukee's not winning Game 5 either. This is a home court series until you get to Game 7 and all bets are off, right? But I don't feel that way because I really feel like the Bucks have this strong momentum. Like a lot of things went right for Phoenix last game, sans Chris Paul. And that includes a decent fourth quarter lead, 9 points at the start of the fourth quarter, and you lose. And are you supposed to win your away games? Like by the letter of the law, no. But like you always try to steal one, right? Well, you should have had one. You really should have. And Giannis, he's been unguardable. Did he score 40 last game? No, but he had 14 and 8 on your head in one of the best blocks I've ever seen. So, Chris Middleton, I'm sure he'll come down a little bit. He's not as great on the road, but he's had some good road. He had 2 good road games in Atlanta. So you never know. And Drew Holiday's been wearing Chris Paul down. I don't think Chris Paul has another stinker, but I don't think Devin Booker's going for 42 again. It's a really, really hard game to pick. It's a really hard series to pick at this point with all the weird things that have kind of happened game in and game out, games 1 through 4. But I just know that the Suns have to win, and I think that they'll get it done. I didn't see the referees tonight, but it seems like let's let the league agenda push the Suns tonight. The league needs a 7-game series out of this, and if the Bucks win tonight, it's not going 7.
So here's how I kind of feel. I think the Suns win tonight, and it's not close. Because I think they have to get back to sending a message. You're right. Milwaukee's not afraid anymore. And going down 2-0, they kind of were, and they found out that they could beat them. Now you have a problem. I think the Phoenix Suns need to reestablish themselves in this series because they're not any longer. It's 2-2. I don't know if everything has to go perfect for them to win. I do think they win by 10. And this is the one point that I did want to make is that home court advantage it's almost home court times 2 now. And let me explain that. So before we had no home court, right? Or there was a home court, then we had a pandemic, and there was no home court because there's no fans. Now it's home court times 2 because these players haven't played in front of fans forever. No booing, no any of this in the background, no screaming, none of that stuff. And I'm telling you, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. That's why Jay Crowder's so good. He went to Marquette. That was a tough school to play basketball at, especially, when you have fans screaming. Jay Crowder's used to it. In fact, you can argue that there are some players that are good when fans are there and some players that are not good when fans are there. Would I be jumping too far?
No, I think you can look right back to the bubble and see that's the case. Think about T.J. Warren and his incredible stretch last year at the Pacers. Well, that dude was just playing pickup ball in an empty gym, right? Yes, the games count. You're playing in the NBA, but that's what it was. Jamal Murray, incredible postseason. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see if playoff Jamal would return this year, and maybe it wasn't a product of the bubble. But Donovan Mitchell, the same thing. He came out this year and showed you it wasn't just the bubble for me. No, I can play in front of fans too. So like, no, I think there is some sort of factor to that. Like some players just have a better way of tuning out the fans, and I think to Giannis's credit, that he's gotten there. He's gotten to a point of like mental bliss is a weird way for me to put it, but almost like mental bliss of the way of like, yes, am I the greatest free throw shooter in the world? No, but I can still get these dudes in foul trouble. I can still put shots up at the rim. 1 out of 2 free throws is better than nothing because half of your time you have 0 points on a possession anyway if you're just clanking jump shots because that's what the Bucks do. So let me just get to the rim. Let me put shots up. Let me do what Ben Simmons won't do, and I'll still help my team. I'll still help my team win. Now, does the ball move as much when Giannis is trying to be dominant? No, but Giannis is doing a lot of affecting intricacies when he's being dominant because, like I said, he's getting dudes in foul trouble. If DeAndre Ayton isn't out on the floor, the Suns are just a bad team. They're just not a great team. So he's able to exploit those things. And I wish Brook Lopez would try to exploit those things a little bit more, but he won't. So it's Giannis's job. That's fine, and he's going to keep on doing it.
So Giannis, what's his brother's name who plays on Milwaukee again? Forgive me, I forget. Thanasis. That's right. Thanasis to me is mentally tough. I mean, but the physical gifts he doesn't have. Like when you're talking about a good defender. Thanasis is a fantastic defender because it's the only way. He's probably only in the league because he could play defense and his brother's Giannis, right? That's a guy where you sit there and you go, he's only a defender, right? We were talking about before about guys that are called defenders, but they can obviously do more given more the opportunity. Thanasis wouldn't do that, but he's mentally tough. And I thought it was interesting when the Suns fans were counting how many times he dribbled. They got inside of his head. I sat and watched him start thinking about how many dribbles he did, and he was crumbling. And a timeout was called, or they went to a TV timeout, whatever. And Thanasis is just after him, going, stop it. Paying attention to them. Take your shot at the line. I was like, dude, you're very valuable to this team. Because I think Giannis ripped off his next 6 in a row. And that, again, the fouls, like you said, matter, right? Let's get him on 8, and let's get him on this guy, let's get him on that guy. But I just thought that was tremendous that he was just able to just snap his brother out of it, right? Even thinking about it, take your shot and be done with it. I was like, Jesus, man. I could tell who the alpha was in that house.
I think you can find the trend in a lot of European and they just non-American players because they're coming over to this country with no idea of what it's going to be like to be living in an American city and living on American soil. And, they have to keep their brain sharp. Otherwise, they're going to, it's a lot. I suffer with separation anxiety myself, even just, traveling alone. So it has to be a lot coming over to a different country, even making millions of dollars. I think you see a lot of tough-minded people, who, a lot of them who are European or Asian, American not American, I'm sorry, coming over to play basketball in America. And, I always think about tough-minded players, like who's unfazed when the lights are the brightest. And, like, you see Nikola Jokic just, ball out in the playoffs. You see Luka Doncic ball out. You've seen Dirk Nowitzki ball out. And the same thing with Giannis, right? Like, they stay consistent to the moment because they're brain trained to this point. They've done this before. They've done so much harder things than this. They've left their families. They've provided for their families who live in tougher economies than we do. That's a lot more. That's a lot harder than playing NBA basketball. So these guys they're all so mentally strong, and I think they're a lot stronger than the coddled American who's just been given everything their whole life. From the time that like, oh, this dude could like really go pro. Let's just push him to the pros. These guys over in Europe who've developed their skills, they're coming over and, it's a total culture shock. They have to be, geared right up here to last. And I think you see that with a lot of the star Europeans.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Nowitzki because Nowitzki said he was going to quit. He came here, he was playing, and he said, if it weren't for Steve Nash, I would have quit. He's like, I wasn't having fun. I was sad. The separation was killing me, and I just couldn't shoot. Like on top of all, coming over here, having to learn the schedule, all these things he was dealing with. The one thing he was asked to do when he came over here, he could no longer do. And he's like, I was just thinking about quitting. And Mark asked me to stay. That would be Mark Cuban. Mark said, hey, look at, just stay. Just hang out and talk to Rick Carlisle and don't do that. Just stay and hang out. Is there anybody here that you have friends with? And he's like, well, he goes, me and Steve talk sometimes. Mark Cuban would give them, like, he would take them out to dinner. He would develop the relationship between both of them just so Nowitzki felt comfortable. He felt so bad that the one thing that Dirk wasn't good or was good at, that he couldn't figure out how to do it. And it was breaking his heart. And eventually he got good. The travel, problems went away. He was able to have some money and fly his family over, but Mark Cuban was a fantastic facilitator of Nowitzki, even of us even being able to watch him. Because it was difficult to want to quit. So who do you have tonight? Who do you have? You have the Suns? Spread or what? It's 3.5.
3.5. I'll take the Suns by 5. Cover the spread, but barely.
All right, I got them by 7. I think we'll hit a couple late free throws, maybe push it to 8. I think they need to win, and they need to set a statement in their building. That counting.
They're newly named building. I don't know if the new name drops tonight or if it starts next season. But the Suns Arena, it is now the Footprint Arena.
The Footprint Arena.
An environmentally friendly organization. Look them up. It's a good cause for this new naming rights to the Suns facility.
I like it. The Footprint Arena. We got the Suns to cover easily. Quoting easily. Any keys to the game?
I think keys to the game. I think it starts and ends with Drew Holiday continuing to hound Chris Paul, picking him up 94 feet like he's been doing, giving him no breathing room at all. Nothing in the half court. The Suns have to figure out how to get him open, and DeAndre Ayton has to figure out how he can keep himself out of foul trouble, or maybe he can, slip something in the ref's pocket for them to help him out.
All right, so here's my key to the game. You're a Philadelphia guy, so I'll give you a Philadelphia reference. How's that sound?
Cool.
Bernard Hopkins, familiar?
Yes, sir.
All right, Bernard Hopkins. So when Bernard Hopkins got older and he still was winning fights, considerably, he would play defense in the first part of the round. He'd throw a jab here. He'd catch you a couple times, but he'd win the last 30 seconds of every round. He made sure that those judges, the last thing he saw or that they saw was him hitting the other guy in the head every single round. And he was able to flourish and fight and do stuff like that. I actually predict that Chris Paul, and every time that Hopkins would do it, people would just think he was tired. Oh, he's coming up for the 5th round. Maybe he doesn't have it anymore. And he would surprise him, pop you a couple times. And I believe that Chris Paul is savvy like that. I think Devin Booker comes out hot. I think Bridges comes out hot. And I do believe that Ayton starts off a little slow, and it's concerning. Third quarter comes around, Paul and Crowder take over. That's what I think. I think it's the two guys that you were sitting the whole time going, and the narrative at halftime will be like, Chris Paul only has 4 points, and Jay Crowder, he only has 7. We really haven't shot the ball very much. It's been all Booker, and it's been all Bridges. And all of a sudden, here comes the Hopkins. Where at the third quarter, Phoenix just blows up. They're up by 15, 16, and they end up walking away, losing the fourth quarter, but winning by 7 or 8 points. Feel good?
A little closeout, Chris, coming in Game 5.
I just think he's not going to, but you're not going to see it. He hasn't really done much passing the ball to Booker. First 2 quarters, you're not going to see it. Third quarter, snap. He's going to own you the last 30 seconds.
I'll tell you who's been good in Game 5s throughout these playoffs is Chris Middleton. And if Chris Middleton's going to have a big game tonight, the Suns better keep up. The Suns are going to need all they can get from both of their top guys. They can't just have one of those top guys working if Middleton shows up tonight, right?
Well, I agree with you. But if you have Booker working early, Middleton will be tired late. And you won't need Booker anymore because that's when Paul's going to do it.
Right. But, I mean, you saw in Game 3, Bookerton, what am I talking about?
You're talking about the marriage between Booker and Middleton. That'll probably happen after the season, right?
When they're both on the Olympic team. But Booker went nuclear in the third And, like nothing Chris Middleton could do was stopping anything. Like, that was an epic shooting performance. And then Chris Middleton does something only he and LeBron have done over the past 25 years. And that's score 10 points, 10 straight points for your team in the last 2 minutes of a fourth quarter of a finals game. Like that's just insane. So, if Booker's going ahead early, if Booker's going early and Chris Paul's coming on late, Booker better stay on late too. Because if Booker's not there late, Chris Middleton will be there late. And we'll see who's going to get the better of each other. It's Chris with a K versus Chris with a C.
I like it. Oh, you're always doing this versus because you're the UFC guy, aren't you? It's always got to be one guy versus the other guy.
Listen, I have to have mini battles going on in my brain. It's how I put my points and my stories together. Okay.
It's always in this corner fighting with you, right? All the time. There's always
That's what it is. It's Jax. Really, you're gonna squeak that toy while we're finishing up this show? You really gonna do that? Come here. How rude! How rude!
How dare him?
How dare him.
All right, guys. It's good chatting with you. As always, thanks for coming on. We both have the Suns tonight. Don't worry. Put your mortgage on the Phoenix Suns at -3.5. And as always, don't tell your wife. Go to theeverydayfan.com for the greatest and latest content. Subscribe to Shot of Jack Sports and follow Liam with everything he's doing. Right? Is he walking his dog in the morning? Follow him. He's got something going on, and it'll be absolutely fun. You guys will learn something about sports, and he'll have some kind of verses down there in Philly going for you guys.
Some interesting historical perspective for you to think about. I'm a burgeoning NBA historian, by the way.
Burgeoning NBA historian.